Gemara, straight and simple. Here we are. We are back with more stuff regarding Sita on Shabbos. At the end of the year today, we're going to have a look at the Mishnah Berurah. So we're going to have a Halacha L'Maaseh today. We're going to have a chart. We're going to have a lot of fun things to do today. And this year, as always, is Le'ilun Nishmas my father Menachem ben Akiva, and for the refuah of all the cholim, the quick release of all the hostages, whichever nationality they hold, all the Yiddish people should come back home very quickly. We discussed yesterday, and we are Daf Kuf Mem Dalid Omud Beis in Maseches Shabbos. Very easy place. Find us in the first wide line. Dom of Chizda Trodin. Before we start that first wide line, of course, we have to give an important summary slash introduction, summary of yesterday, which is today's introduction. When I finished yesterday's shir, I afterwards felt guilty because when I explained the Gemara's answer, I did miss one. I didn't stress enough one important point. Okay, so listen carefully. Spot the differences between yesterday and today. What's the topic at hand now? We're talking here about squeezing payros. What kind of fruit? There are three levels of fruit regarding schita, squeezing on Shabbos. Zeisim va'anovim, yeah, which is what? Olives and grapes. When you squeeze those, that's generally speaking, we're going to see some exceptions. Generally speaking, iso deoraisa. Zeisim va'anovim are used mainly for juice today too. Most of Zeisim va'anovim in the world are meant for juice. Therefore, and there are also two of the important mashkim in halacha. They hold very high level, yeah, as mashkim. Therefore, squeezing them is a real mashke. You're creating a real mashke. That's idea in Shabbos. This is a point which we have to understand. You're changing from solid to liquid, and that liquid is a chashivus of a liquid, real liquid. Now, we spoke about the two other levels, and I will just pop upstairs to the daf, to the top part of the daf. Although in the first wide line, we should now go to the first line in the Amud, Pgoin, Uprishin, V'uzrodin. What are those? This is the lowest level of fruit. Those three fruit, and really most other fruit in the world, that, I mean, not today, but back then, most fruit were not used for juice. Yeah, nobody used them for juice. They don't make nice juice. Nobody cares about the juice. Rishon was brought in all kinds of quinces, prunes, whatever, tiny pears. No, nothing juicy. Yeah, nothing interesting about them. And it said that whoever squeezes them is allowed. That's allowed. You're allowed to squeeze them. That's the way we held them. Now, avaloberi moinim, the middle level, the level in between, are tutim verimoinim. Tutim verimoinim, which means strawberries, and rimoinim. Everybody knows what's a rimon, right? A pomegranate is something that was normally squeezed by one family called Beis Menashe, Bei Menashe Bar Menachem, right? Because that family would squeeze their rimonim, yeah, they're one family. Because of that, we said that squeezing rimonim is also forbidden. And then the Gemara asked the obvious question, and now we're coming back to where we're holding, yeah, today. What do you mean? One family? They determine the halacha for everyone? And if they would, I don't know, dance on Shabbos hula hoop, that would be also for everyone. Who cares about one family? So now the Gemara gave an explanation which is completely new, and that is Hainu Tama Rav Chizda. What does that mean? Oh, here comes my tshuva. Here comes my better explanation than yesterday. Rav Chizda basically holds, as we're going to see soon, that if a person squeezes a mashke, even a mashke that's not one of the seven mashkim, not a mashke that's halachically recognized as mashke, but if you if you squeeze a mashke from anything, even from the craziest fruit, yeah, even for those, if you machshiv, if you decided, I want to drink that, halacha relates to that as real mashke. Now comes the question, as Tosis asks, we didn't see Tosis yesterday, wait, if anything under the sun I decided to make mashke from, how come I'm allowed to squeeze the pgin, prishin, v'ozrodin, right, the crazy ones? If I decided it's a mashke, that should be also, it's individual. On that answers Rashi and Tosas, no. En chinami. If you squeeze in order to make a juice, in order to drink the juice, it would be usher. Maybe even chayev, which we don't hold in theory. Yeah? Obazoi, we're talking here the entire brisa, not about a guy who's squeezing for juice. He's squeezing out the juice not in order to drink it. He's squeezing it in order to get rid of the juice, in order to make the fruit better, to get the acidity, the liquid out of the fruit, to embetter the fruit. Oh. So now it's all about gzeira, which means, as I said yesterday, it's true that one family doesn't determine halacha for everyone, but one family can create a chashash, meaning, once I see that there is a choshev, a rich family, they were rich, of those Bey Menashe, and they squeeze, what's her name? They squeeze limonim. So even if I'm squeezing limon just to get rid of the juice, which is allowed, we're choishesh, maybe I can get ideas. Maybe next time I'm going to start squeezing it for the juice. And why squeezing for the juice also? Squeezing for the juice itself would be also mamish. If I squeeze for the juice, it's also regardless of Bey Menashe. It technically, because Bey Menashe like the juice, other people can get the same idea. And from a mutter squeezing to just get rid of the juice, my own peula, all I need to do is the bad switch in my mind and say, maybe I gotta drink the juice. Why should it go to waste? Let's drink the juice. Ben Menashe do it. I also want to be like them. That's the chashash. That's why they forbade me the rabbanon to squeeze the rimonim, even not for the juice. Mashke and pigin prishan v'uzrodin. True. If I would squeeze them for the juice, it would be terrible. But we're not choishish it's going to happen. Chazal don't make xeros. This is very well known yesod, which I think Kol actually was very, very small. Chazal never make xeros on things that are very hypothetic, very out of the radar. Yeah, you don't make chashash, don't do this because you may jump to outer space. So since Goy Prishin was rodin and very unlikely to be used for the juice because loy matzin anybody doing it, that's why if you squeeze them for the mutter purpose, for just getting rid of the juice, that's why it's okay. That's a maskana. So what's the story with Rav Chizda? All Rav Chizda said was one point, that if you squeeze the most outlandish, non-juicy, crazy fruit, if you do squeeze it for the juice, it is also. Yeah? Elamai, there's no such chashash, technically, only by tutim ceremony. Now it's much clearer to me and hopefully to you. Now, by the way, that's not halacha l'maisa. Halacha l'maisa, yeah, we're going to see later. But let's continue now. The Omar of Chizda. Now we're moving from Shabbos to Mikveh. Very easy halacha here in Mikveh. Trodin shesochtun v'nesonon b'mikveh. I assume trodin are the same trodin like in modern Hebrew, although it's not so simple. Spinach juice. Yeah, spinach juice, just a thought, yeah. But let's say a person decided to take spinach and squeeze the spinach juice where? Into a mikveh. Cool guy. Maybe things gonna be very healthy for him or her. So what did he do? He took the trodin. Is trodin a normal mashke? No. It's not tutim rimonim. It's not zesim anovim. Yet Mr. So-and-so decided to squeeze trodin, sochton, squeeze them to a bowl, and then place it in a mikveh. Poislin is a mikveh b'shinui mare. Let me explain. Mikveh becomes possible if you don't have yet 40 saw, either by shloisha lugin of water, or other drinks, but they have to be drinks. Other important liquids that are defined as liquids, not water, wine or oil, yeah? If you put them in the mikveh, which is less than 14 saw, 40 saw, 40, then, yeah, if if they change the color of the mikveh, they pass it, it's disqualify, otherwise no, it's to do with the color, for whichever reason. Now, those trodin, they're not mashke. They're not one of the seven mashkim, and not even the rich people. Nobody squeezes them. And yet we see that if Mr. Klotzenmacher, one guy decided to squeeze a trodim, and his mind decided, yes, I want that juice. I now want it, and I like it, and I want to drink it, and that's my new fancy diet from California, spinach juice diet. Then that juice gets halachically the name of a mashke, even to passel the mikveh, let alone for Shabbos. So if in Shabbos, Mr. Bey Menashe and his groupies decide that that tutim remonim are Jews, they're Jews. That's the logic here. It's up to each person, individual's machshava. Yeah? Now, frek the Gemara, ve'ala b'nei schita ninhu. The trodim are not something normally traditionally squeezed. They're not meant for squeezing. Even today, is there such a thing as I don't know, spinach juice? I've been to many countries that I've never heard of spinach juice in my life. So spinach juice, that's a crazy thing. Who does that? Elamai islach lememar. So why is it so that it's considered as a mashke to disqualify the mikveh? What's achshavinu? He makes it important in his mind. He gives it importance to that spinach juice. This is Mr. Spinach Juice, making business out of it. He wants it. Have a little mashke. It becomes a mashke, but his individual thought. So to Achinami regarding Shabbos with Tutim and Rimonim, given achshavinu have a little mashke. If a person makes it choshev in his own eyes, that becomes a mashke, and it is really usher to squeeze. Now, have a minute, excuse me. This opinion of Chizda believes that in order to disqualify a mikveh, it has not just anything, only something that's called halachically a mashke, which means, according to Rav Chizda, if you take a bottle of Coke, which is very colorful and black and very unhealthy also, yeah, if you take Coke and you fill the mikveh that's not completely full of boimseh with a lot of Coke, good luck to her, yeah, and what? And now that Coke would not disqualify the mikveh. Why? No, because it's not a mashke. It's not maybe water. Maybe the water in the Coke is. It just okay. So not water. I'm sorry. So something that's not a regular mashke, and I don't make it a mashke, right? Regular juice, which I don't like. I don't care. I squeeze something I don't like. Kiwi. I don't like kiwi. I squeeze kiwi juice. Stam. I don't know because I'm practicing my hands. Yeah. Then, and I put it to the mikveh, it wouldn't pass all the mikveh. Only something that's called mashke, or that I decided is called mashke because I want it to be mashke. But it has to have the name of a mashke. So, soon you'll understand what give me a second. Soon you'll understand what I'm saying based on the other opinion. You have a question?
I thought we had to do that changes the color of the water, but that would be.
It's not enough. Good. Ah, two conditions. It has to change the color, and it has to have the title real mashke, a choshev a mashke. Okay? Now, Rav Papa Omar. Now, Rav Papa says, here you have, by the way, the chart for later. Give one to Akiva, please. Rav Papa Omar. Rav Papa argues with Rav Chizda, and here comes what you're saying. Rav Papa Omar, Mishum Davidovo Shen Oisinen Mikveh Lechatchila. Says Rav Papa, it doesn't have to be called a mashke. It doesn't have to be titled and defined as mashke at all. Anything you can't make a mikveh from, if it changes the color, the choldovo shen osim no mikveh lechatchila, mikveh, as you said, b'shinui mare. Very good. Rav Papa is your man. Rav Papa says, I don't care if it's called the mashke or not, as long as it's something that you can't make a mikveh from. What kind of liquids can you make mikveh from? Well, mime, and mime. Rashi says borod, sheleg. It can be snow, it can be hail, all types of, it's really all water. Yeah, only water can be a mikveh. So anything that's not water, whiskey, gin and tonic, I don't care, whatever that is. Yeah, Coke, anything, even if it's not called a mashke, it doesn't have to be a mashke. The mere fact that it's something that's not water and is different in color, it changes the color. Such a thing does not, it passes the mikveh. Which means he argues with the Rav Chisda, and he says, no, if you squeeze the trodim, it's not because you want it to be mashke, because last time I checked, people can't be tovel in Mei Trodim. Mei Trodim, last time I checked, is not water, right? And therefore, the Mei Trodim passel, even without the title mashke. And therefore, the whole Yisod, according to our Papa, doesn't apply. Yeah, that it's called mashke because I decided. No, I did not decide. It's still possible without being a mashke. That's Rav Papa. Tnan Hosam. Oh, now we're going to see a Mishnah and Machlokes Abai and Rav. Basically, let's just quickly summarize. We have a very, very easy Machlokes here. When you have a colorful liquid, colorful, I'm not saying mashke on purpose, colorful liquid, in English, liquid. Yeah? Now, that colorful liquid, according to Rav Chisda and Rav Nachman also before, you know when it disqualifies the mikveh? Only when it's called a mashke. It has to have the title mashke, halachic title. Or if I decided that it's the same, because I gave it the name mashke. Or, according to Rav Papa, no, it doesn't have to be called a mashke. Call it shkutzi putzi, call it zea schita, zea, whatever, call it something else, doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be mashke. The mere fact that it's in the mikveh and it's the wrong color and it's not water, goodbye. Now we're going with these two ideas in mind, everything will be very easy now. What?
What type of color is it?
Doesn't matter, green, red, blue,
Is that like
it doesn't matter. As long as it's not clear and it changes the color of the mikveh, people come and see, hey, that's green, blue, black.
that's problematic?
That is problematic and people cannot be toivel there. Exactly. Now, Tnan Hosam. Oh, we're going to look at the chart soon, both off and online. I made the chart today, Baruch Hashem. Tnan Hosam. It says in the Mishnah, in Kvois, Nafal toicho yain. Let's say wine fell into the mikveh. Wine, red and strong, red, nice, the very red, dry wine, red or sweet wine, yeah, fell into the mikveh. Of course, it disqualifies. Wine is strong color. Chometz, vinegar is also wine. We're talking about vinegar that's from wine. Chometz is lighter, but let's say the chometz has strong yellow color, and it changes the water from clear to yellow. It's possible. Here comes a third one, and that's going to be the star of the show today. Umoichal. Moichal, as we're going to see now, we're going to see very much in depth. Moichal basically is a liquid that comes out of the olives, and it's not oil. Moichel is a liquid that's more runny and clearer and more runny than oil, but it comes out of the olives in the process of the oil pressing. We're going to discuss it, high and low. The shinemarav, if wine or chometz or moichal, by the way, they're all derivatives of who? Zeisim Vanovim, so it's called a mashke. Vishinemarov, and it changed the looks, the color of the water. The water is not clear anymore. Every child can see this is red, this is yellow, this is green. Then what? Pasul. Okay, very nice. The Gemara at this point believes, like who? Like Rav Chizda, that in order to disqualify the mikveh, it's not enough to be the wrong color. This is not, South Africa here with apartheid. It's not just about color. It's also about what? It's about, is it called a mashke halachically or not called a mashke halachically? Frek the Gemara, mantana de moichal mashkehu. Moichal, as I said again, is not oil. Moichal is what? Moichal is the waterish, not water, is substance, liquid that comes out of the oils in the process of pressing. Now it's time to look at the chart. Look at the chart, please. Yeah, and the chart is, one second, okay. Ah, now, when you see substance, the first row, yeah? At the first stage, when they put the zaysim in the oil press, there's a first stage. The quality of the oil is very runny and it's not useful. Nobody wants it. Nobody needs it. It's like, runny, watery, liquidy, bad stuff. Second stage, later, it gets thicker and more similar to oil. It does not contain oil, but it's already a bit thicker and it does have some use. I don't know what, but it's already nicer. Oil. Then what's the third stage? Are you following the chart? Yeah, chart makes sense. Next one, oil. Big red, the big of italic letters. Oil. You press the oil. Then post oil mohal. The mohal after the oil, after the pressing, is again just mohal, but then it contains some of the oil. Because the oil already came out, then a little bit of the oil is mixed with the mohal. Yeah, so the first stage is garbagey mohal. Second one is higher quality mohal. Then we get to the epitome, to the climax of the real oil, the real deal. Nice oil. Oh, amazing. Then what? Afterwards, there's mohal, which happens to have some oil, droplets of oil. That's all. Now we know how to make oil. Very easy. So now, Zok the Gemore, who told you the mohal is mashke? Omar Abaye, Rabbi Yaakov. It's Rabbi Yaakov. Why? What did Rabbi Yaakov say? Who told you the mohal, which is not oil? How do you know it's called mashke? The Tanya, Rabbi Yaakov Omer. Rabbi Yaakov says mohal. It says mochal or mohal. By the way, I'm aware of the ches, but in many mishnayos that Mochsham and learned, it says mohal with a hey. Call it mohal, mochal, whatever, same thing. Yeah, mohal slash mochal. Arehu ke mashke. Really, mohal is mashke. Normally, mohal is called mashke. It's halachically called mashke, like oil. It's not oil. It's oil's first cousin. I umatam omru mochal oyotze betchila tohor. The first stage mochal, yeah, is tohor. Yeah. Why is it tohor? The first one in the chart. Why is it tohor? And if it touches, by the way, what does tohor mean? It means it doesn't receive tuma. And also, if it's sprinkled on food, the food is not prepared for tuma. It's not mukhshar for tuma. It's not one of the seven drinks. Remember what I told you once, 2 days ago? Each one of the seven drinks has its derivatives, right? Milk is milk of woman, right? Water has a derivative, no, tears, וכולי. Oh, do we say the mohal is part of the oil family? Says Rabbi Yaakov, it is mashke, yes it is. Ah, if so, matam omer mochal yotze betchilat Torah. Why do we know, it's all agreed, that the first mohal, the first one, is tor, and it doesn't make anything tom, and it's not called a mashke. You know why? Oh, this goes very well, ties very well to the one before. In order for mashke to be a mashke, even wine and oil, wow, even the big ones, or cholov, it's only called a mashke if you want it to come out, right? You need it, you want it. Moihal, the first one, as it says in the chart, nothing. It's runny, it's not useful, garbage, nothing. I don't want it, I don't need it, I don't relate to it. Therefore, even if though it's in theory mashke, but my rotzon is not there, and you need the rotzon. Okay, and that's the reason. Very nice. Now, Rab Shimon Omer. Rab Shimon says the opposite of Rabbi Yaakov. It says no, mochal enu kemashke. Stam regular mochal, yeah. Bashkofer Shorna, axiomatically speaking, mochal is not mashke. No, it's not like oil. You know which one that is? The last one. The one that's post Beis Abad, after it's been already to the oil press, the one number 4, yeah? Post oil mohal, that is, I really should add it to the chart next time. The post oil mohal is metame, is yes considered to be a mashke. Why? You just told me it's not mashke. You know why? I'll tell you why. Lefishi efshel balot zichtuche shemen. Aha. It's not because mohal. Mohal is never mashke. The reason why the one after the pressing is called mashke because it happens to contain zichtuche shemen. It happens to contain droplets of oil, and oil is a mashke. And you do want that mohal. That mohal is a bit thicker. It's not like the first one, and I'm okay with it. So even though it's not mashke, but inadvertently it does contain mashke, contains shemen. That's it. So now, Frank the Gemara, my benayu, what really would be the difference, or what would be the nafkamina, as we say in Yeshivish language, what would be the nafkamina between who? Between Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Shimon? Because at the end of the day, they're coming from different points of view. One of them says mochel is really a mashke, but the other says the one is not mashke, but. But at the end of the day, they both agree that the moal at the very beginning is not a mashke for whichever reason. Either it's not mashke or I don't want it. And they both agree that the moal at the very end, after the oil press, is mashke, either because of moal or because it contains oil. All very nice. But what's enough kamina lamaisa? And says the Gemara, the difference between them, the osiboter itzet. Back to the chart. The middle one, the second stage. The second stage is thicker than the first one, and it's more similar to oil. Very nice. According to Man de Omar, that be'etzem, conceptually, mohal is a mashke, then it is metame. Only the first one is not metame because I really don't want it. It's such a pesky thing, or who needs it? But a regular run-of-the-mill mohal, okay with, it's middle of the road, it's a mashke. Mashenken, the other one would say no. The other Tana would say nishtazoi. Really, mohal is not a mashke. Mohal is not a mashke whatsoever. With or without wanting it, it's just not a mashke. Yeah, elamai vosidos. We say that the one after the oil itself came about, it contains oil. If it contains oil, that's a mashke without me wanting. He doesn't care so much about me wanting or not. That's the whole idea. So now that's all. So really, who is the one who cared about wanting or not wanting? Rabbi Yaakov. But Rabbi Yaakov says that really Moal is considered to be mashke. So again, Abaye here follows the idea. Let me look at Rashi here. Yeah, 1 second. I'm thinking. Yeah, because Rashi is not so clear here, and he's not like the Ritva. Rashi says kasal kedaitech en mikov nifsal yeah el alidei mashke. I don't know why she says kasal kedaitech because it's a real opinion. That's what the Ritva says. We see opinions that it has to be called a mashke. Who are the opinions? Rav Chizda and Abaye. According to them, you have to want it to be a mashke. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Even, yeah. But if, in other words, even something like tered, even something like todim, like the most crazy thing. If you decided it's a mashke. And the Ritva says before, like I said, I saw the Ritva, that according to Rav Chizda, even very abnormal mashkim, if you want them to be mashke, they become one, yeah? And that's the same idea with Abaye, right? Yeah, that if you want the kium, it is mashke, right? And now, but you need it to be a mashke. You need it to be a mashke. Both Rav Nachman and Abai believe that it has to be called a mashke. Moihal has to be called a mashke for whichever reason. And Tered, whoever, you have to call it, define it as mashke. Only then it disqualifies the mikveh. Now, okay, what? Ah, thank you. The new Gemara says Gilsa, thank you. Not kasal kedeta, but kasava. Shkoyach Akiva, my neighbor always helps me. Ah, nice. In kasava. This is really what he thinks. Abaye is friends with Rav Chizda. They think it's not enough to be called very black, very brown, very green, very red. It has to be called a mashke, as opposed to Rove. Comes the Gemara. Rove, let's continue the Gemara. Rove Amar no. Mishum David Dover Shen Oisin Menu Mikveh. Which means I don't care. It doesn't have to be called a mashke with aura and the definitions and no. Anything that you can't make mikveh out of, which is anything except for water, or water in any shape and form, right? Could be frozen water, this water, anything that's not water. Passes, call it mashke, call it UFO, LMNOP, whatever, doesn't matter. That's all of it. Now we're done with that. We're done with this part of the sugya of what? Of schita, about tutim remonim. And now we're coming to a very famous halacha that has many ramifications. What you learn always in Ilchas Shabbos, you see right here in front of your eyes in the Gemara. Omar Rav Yuda Omar Shmuel. Soichet Odom Eshkol Shel Anovim. Anovim, ooh, that's dangerous. Why? Anovim and Zaysim are the two clear Isod Oraisa. And you're allowed on Saturday, on Shabbos, you're allowed to be Soichet the cluster of grapes, Letocha Kdera, meaning, what's Kdera? You have a pot full of food. We're not talking about cooking here. It's Shabbos. Kdera is full of cold food. Let's say I don't know, you want to have something with grape juice in it, salad. Ah, here's a good example. I found Baruch Hashem, fruit salad. You're making nice fruit salad on Shabbos. You're allowed to. You have to follow many halachas, yeah? You cut the fruit, not too small, not borer, da. And now, what do you want to squeeze and freshly squeeze on top of the fruit salad? Nothing, grape juice. You're allowed to do it. Lechatchila, 2025. Avaloi letoicha ke'ora. You're not allowed to squeeze it into the ke'ora, an empty ke'ora. Why? Look at Rashi. This is so classical and important. Look at Rashi Latocha Kdera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines or so from the bottom of the page, middle of the line. Latocha Kdera shel tavshil ataknoi. Let's say you have a tavshil or salad, doesn't matter. You have something that you want to metakin, you want to add flavor to. What's most important is to something solid. That's the idea. You're allowed. Why are you allowed? The muchachamil sedelav lemashki bailei ela leoichel. I can see that this grape juice is not going to be drunk by itself as liquid. Rather, it's going to join forces with solid, with food. So, the ein zederech prikosoi. Why am I not allowed to squeeze grapes on Shabbos? What does Hashem care? You know why? Because disha is what? What's the av of squeezing? Dash, right? You're taking the grain out of the chaff, out of the husk, right? And you need the grain for new use. You took something from one place to the other, and now it has a new entity. What about squeezing? I took the juice from the solid and I turned them from solid to juice. And I stressed at the beginning of Shir. That's why the Gemara understood at some point it has to be called a mashke. I changed the form from solid to mashke. Okay? However, if this was food and remains food, then it's not called dash. You know why? Oichel me'oichel to just separate. Yeah. If I mafrid one food from the other, then it's not a problem. You may ask, what about the husk and the grain? There you have psoilus and oichel. And Tosfos speaks about it over here, which means when you have good food, let's say you have nice good food, you have some I don't know, burekas or something. Yeah. Oh, that's a good example. You took the filling from the burekas or the cake. They're both solid. That's okay. I took food from food, edible burekas. It has some nice yellow cheese. You only like the cheese, like the children, not the burekas. You scooped out the yellow cheese out of the thing. No problem. You're taking food from. You like both. It's not borer. Yeah. Just right now, I want that. No problem. That's not called dash. That's not called soichet. Soichet is either dash. I'm taking from a garbagey thing. I'm taking the good one, or I'm taking from good food. I'm taking the liquids. But if those liquids in one half a second I'm squeezing the grapes into the fruit salad, they change from solid to solid because they're tougher to the solid. Yeah? When you serve it to the guests, they say, oh, what a nice fruit salad. They won't say, what nice grape juice. Yeah, the lady will say, I taste some grape juice over here. You know, look, women always say, yeah, yeah, yeah. But she won't say, I'm drinking grape juice. She'll say, I'm eating fruit salad, a tinge of grape juice. So basically, it was solid grapes were turned into a different type of solid of grape of fruit salad because it's ochel machal. That's why it's allowed. Wow, not even gzer derabanan. You don't say it always b'chule b'chule, but conceptually this is what we say. Now, why can't you be searching to the keora? If you sech it to the ke'ara, to the empty bowl, and then later you're going to put it to the fruit salad, too late. You know why? Because when you put it when you place it and squeeze it into an empty bowl, it's not muchach. Says Rashi. Says Rashi, the zin al mashke kai. When you put it to the ke'ara, sometimes you may drink it like that. People don't know that you're going to put it straight into the fruit salad, right? As of now, it's a separate thing. It's a separate liquids. That's an isser. Al makasova. That is to say the mashke abala oichel hu. From here you see the mashke that's about to right away. It separates from its original source. Is joining food oichelu. It's not called mashke. It's called oichel. Yeah, it's defined as oichel for Shabbos, so that's where we're allowed to squeeze it. And also for Tuma v'Tahara, we're going to see soon, it's also called oichel. I will not stop here completely. We have time. I'm sorry I didn't tell you to bring the Mishnah Berurah, but it's very readable. I want to read you now a little bit, not everything yet. No, I'm sorry. There are no papers for the Mishnah Berurah. You can bring it to, there are no shir tomorrow. Like Bomer. Sorry. Yeah? Sunday. So maybe bring the Mishnah Berurah Sunday. Shin Chof. Very easy simon, at least at the beginning, to understand. Says Shulchan Aruch. Listen to the maskana from this part of the sugya. Says Shulchan Aruch. Zeisim v'anovim osur lesochton. Yeah, you're not allowed to be soichet zeisim v'anovim. Okay. V'imyotzu ma'atzman asurim. Oh, very good. If it was flowed by itself, it's osur. Lekul alma, both Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim, right? Afilu lo hoyam dimel al. That's both Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim said. Even though you meant that your grapes should be what? For achila, you may join the universal trend of squeezing them. So if you find a liking of this, that has very nice oil together with the trina or the pita, or you're going to have the juice, you'll say, let's squeeze it. That's okay. That was clear. Now, the tutim v'remoinim also lesochton. Tutim v'remoinim are osir mi de rabbanon. Shema yivol lischot. Yeah. Miktzas benodim asur rabbanon. Look at the Mishnah Berurah. They mostly for achila. Miktsas benodim sochti nosim zeh sevanovim. Asur rabbanon not zeh sevanovim. Not like the maskana of the Gemara according to Rashi and Tosfos. Yeah, the Shulchan Aruch here is now following like the Rif and the Rosh and the Rambam, right? In other words, the tutim remanim are also lesochton, are also lesochton midrabanon. Not like we said that Beit Menashe don't rule, but we say it's also gzera. You soich them, you come to do zesimanovim. V'im yotzu me'atzman. What happens if the tutim remanim juice flowed by itself? Surprise, surprise, we pass in like Rabbi, even though that's Yochid, we pass in like Rabbi. Im oimim la'achila mutter. If I brought those nice lush pomegranates home, but it's meant to be eaten, for Rosh Hashanah, let's say, or Stam, then if they flowed out, it's allowed. I maintain that I want it for food. I'm not going to squeeze it. Also, but if I brought them home in order to make a nice pomegranate juice, which is very healthy, so also because then some people use them for zeysimanovim. Yes, hey, use them for juice, for drinking. Bey Menashe and his fancy friends. And I may, if I already got it to flow, it's already flowing. I may come to also. I also want it for mashkim. I'm like Bey Menashe. So then it's also. Sh'al kol hapeos. Ooh, halacha remains mutter, mutter l'sochten. All other fruit you're allowed to squeeze. Wow. Why? Because they're meant for food, says Mishnah Brura. Nobody squeezes them for their drink. It's not called mashke at all. It's called oichel ma'oichel. As the afdu choshev len dischitos mashke bottle datetz kolkodem. Not like it seems from the Gemara and Rashi. This is definitely different shittas rishonim. Even though you said mamish, not like we said. I know. I'm aware of it. Yeah, I'm saying the Shulchan Aruch follows other people. You know, Shulchan Aruch, Beis Yosef says in Hilchas Tzitzis, he says, "Roiv divrei Rashi lo lahalocha." Yes. If you look in Ilchas Kashrus, you look in Shabbos many times, what Rashi says, it's not halacha l'maisa. Yosef did not go with Rashi, he went, as we all know, with other poskim. And therefore, the halacha is not halacha 2025. The conceptual halacha is that if you have juices, I mean fruit, that nobody makes juice out of, I don't know what these fruit are nowadays, and you do squeeze it, you're an oiber chocham, since nobody does that, but l'daito, and even if you want to for mashke, they're not called mashke. Of course, you're going to ask me, oh, come on, be real. Yeah, you want to tell me that, what about lemons? Oranges, yeah? Says the Ramah, don't worry. If you have a place where they have the minhag of squeezing whichever fruit, and it's accepted to squeeze it for because they want to drink it for because you're thirsty or for enjoyment, Dina ketutim v'rimoinim. The halacha is like tutim v'rimoinim. It's also the rabbanon. Could be they say sometimes even the oraisa. I won't go into it. There is a shayla in the halacha nowadays. It became very normal, like to squeeze oranges. Yeah, as much as zesim v'rimonim. I'm not getting there. Zesim v'rimonim. Lamaisa lefi the Rama. It's like tutim v'rimonim. It's also the rabbanon if it's very commonly used. Nagu. Aber nagu l'stochte l'refuah levad ein lochush. Yeah. But if the minhag is only to squeeze it for refuah, just for some medication, something more out of the way, then there's no concern. I'm aware we're not learning all the halacha now. I'd like to go back to the Mishnah Berurah after doing another piece of Gemara. Okay? But that was just a halacha l'maaseh to see that it's not exactly what it is. So let's summarize. Zesim anovim, bad news. Zesim anovim, very normal. Most of them go for juice. Choshev mashkim, stay out of them, and ischita. When can you squeeze zesim anovim? How? Only if you squeeze them straight into ochel. That's another section of halacha. Tutim v'rimon and zeisim anovim, anything that flowed out of them, treif, osur, don't use it in Shabbos. What about tutim v'rimonim? Middle of the road, yeah. It's also only with the rabbanon, right? And the juice flowing from them is only osur if you also brought them home for juice, because you are now a beimenachyanik. Now, what about the third type? Anything that's not zeisim anovim, not tutim v'rimonim. Today, a lot of fruit are tutim v'rimonim, right? Many fruit today are used mainly for food, but some people make juice out of them, right? I guess. So then, other fruit that people do not make a juice out of, whatever they are, so what happens with them? It's mutter l'chatchila to b'soichet them. Mamish mutter, because it's just not called, and even if you want them for juice, unlike Shitas Rashi and Tosfos, not like Shitas Rashi and Tosfos, if you decided you want to make from this star fruit juice, I don't know if anybody does that, yeah, so then Batla Daito, you're the crazy guy, and therefore Batla Daito, and even if you do it, it's allowed. That, okay, at least we came out with something very clear. Bezos Hashem, Sunday, remember, we are still in Kuf Mem Daladom and base in the bottom. Thank you so much. Atzlocho, Vrocho, may we only squeeze, you know what, the Yain HaMeshumar of Mashiach soon, Bezos Hashem. Thank you.